Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the Pro Box TV studio. Sebastian Fundora defending his titles against Cordell Booker, fourth round knockout to defend his WBC and WBO 154-pound titles. A stacked division full of talent. Where does he go from here? And what did we think of the performance? Jimmy Smith in studio alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Chris, when you look at Sebastian Fundora, he's already a tough puzzle, right? He's what, 6'11"? He's 7'3", I believe, and 154 pounds. But that range,
6'14".
Yeah, 6'14". Incredible punching ability, and he showed it from all angles against Cordell Booker. How impressed were you with the performance?
I mean, honestly, this is what he was supposed to do. Cordell Booker is not really considered a world-class guy. And when this fight came about, you could tell this was a get-back fight for Fundora. There's a lot of hype around him. Obviously, he's got the physical dimensions. But listen, he can punch too. He's got two of the titles in one of the deepest and actually the deepest division in the sport today. There's a lot of eyes on him. He wanted that Spence fight. We wanted that Spence fight. That fight fell through. Cordell Booker steps in, another southpaw behind you,
right.
And he does what he's supposed to do with a kind of guy like that. He dominated from the opening bell until the stoppage in the fourth. Was doing damaging, those uppercuts, busting his nose, putting him down, just total control, and just Cordell Booker looked like he just was not ready for this level at that time.
Well, the thing is, Paulie, got to ask you about it. This is a guy, if you could argue there are more talented boxers at 54. You could argue there are bigger names at 54. But as far as headaches for coaches, Sebastian Fundora, with his build and as Chris says, the punching power that's a little deceptive. He had good inside punches against Cordell Booker. Is he the toughest puzzle to solve in a sense?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the toughest puzzle to solve because there are ways to solve it. But I'll tell you what.
He's already been solved. We've seen it.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what. The way you don't solve it is you try to box this guy traditionally. Because, you see Booker trying to, fight that in-and-out style. He's trying to box the way he normally boxes. Dude, with Fundora, you got to be either all the way in, and if you're all the way in, you got to be punching the hell out of him, or all the way out where his feet are so slow that you can be all the way out and take your breaks.
But also, you need to understand what all the way out is, because his range is so long.
And all the way out is different than him, exactly.
You might be outside for you, but you're in his middle range, which is what happened to Cordell.
And so, and when you're on the outside, you can't be inching your way in like you do with a regular traditionally boxer. Because again, boxers measure distance. I was that kind of fighter too. At my best, I would fight in and out, sort of measuring my distance by inches in and out. You can't do that with a guy like this. The guy this tall, even if that's your style, you've got to adjust to where I'm going to be all the way in and try to be rough and get as many punches off as possible, because Fundora is hittable when he's on the inside. He's good on the inside, but you can hit him too, as Mendoza showed and knocked him out. But
hammered as well. He was landing a lot of good shots.
And even Zoo before the cut was beating the crap out of him. And then on the outside, you want to be out, like you said, on the outside completely. And you want to make sure you're not measuring your way back in. You're either going to be on the outside and then you're going to fly in, because his feet are slow, so you can fly back in. You don't have to measure your way back in like a traditional boxer where you're fighting a counter puncher and you got to kind of measure your way back in and not run into punches. With Fundora, I think you can be all the way on the outside and then sort of fly back in spots. Again, easier said than done, obviously. Fundora is a very good fighter. He's a world-class fighter despite his flaws. I think his flaws make him fun to watch, and he's entertaining. He's going to always be entertaining whether he wins or loses. And he's like I said, he's a definitive world-class fighter with 2 world championship belts. But, it's certainly a puzzle. I don't think it's the most complicated puzzle, but for certain styles, it would be. For a style like mine, it would definitely be a really, really tough puzzle.
Terrence Crawford said Fundora was like a cheat code because he's so tall.
Yeah,
like fighting him, the guy's got the cheat code. He's 6'6". He's got a long reach and he can punch. Dude. I was impressed with the heavy-handedness that he showed against Cordell Booker. Yeah. Cordell Booker, normally pretty solid guy, kind of a hard guy to hit. Not for Fundora.
But for Fundora also, the heavy-handedness it shouldn't be a surprise, champ, because he's shown that he can punch a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But this one even more so. It's not even like we said off air before. It's like, those tall guys, they got leverage. He doesn't really. He does at times, but on the inside, that's not leverage. He just got heavy.
I'm always fascinated with
the
guys
hands.
that are that tall and can leverage that power, like Diego Corrales is like that.
On the inside.
This guy at distance, Fundora kind of sucks. He doesn't really use his jab very well. He tried the jab with Zoo, but it was like a repetitive type of jab, and until the cut, he really wasn't having much success. But on the inside, dude, this guy's devastating and rough. And remember the Lubin fight as well. He's got some good wins on his record. The Lubin win is a good win. Fundora can fight, and he's a legitimate world champion. But like you said, Jam, it's a weight class that's very, very deep. A lot of danger, a lot of landmines, a lot of fun fights that can be made, and hopefully they get made.
What I'm curious about is, do we have enough info at this point? The breakout fight was Tim Tszyu. We know about the cut. We know about the controversy. We know about, as you said, he was getting the brakes beat off of him. The cut happened. They did not stop the fight because of the cut, and so they didn't go to the scorecard. So Tim Tszyu ended up having to see through a greasy windshield for half the fight. We know how difficult that was, especially against a tall, rangy fighter like this. His comeback fight, as you said, Chris, is somebody good, not great. We kind of expected him to wipe him out. When the other champions are Murtaza Aliyev, Terrence Crawford. Now, Terrence Crawford said he's moving up. He's not fighting 54 anymore. But there's talent here. Do we need to know more about Sebastian Fundora? He's fought once in a year. That was since the Tszyu fight.
No, I think I agree with you, Chad. He is the goods already. We know he's world class. He's got some very good wins on his record. He looks like he's improving. Since that Mendoza fight, he's definitely tightened up quite a bit, and he does have some good wins. The Tszyu win is good, albeit a little controversial because of the cut and the blood, like you said. He did exactly what he was supposed to do with a guy like Cordell Booker. The win over Erickson Lubin, the way he did it, is very, very impressive. So no, I don't think there's any more questions about whether he belongs here or not. The question is, how is he going to match up with the other super talented champions in this division? This division is great, and these guys are all willing to fight each other. So the question is, when are we getting these unification bouts? Because that's what needs to happen.
Virgil Ortiz, haven't mentioned him yet. Of course,
Virgil Ortiz, he doesn't have a title, but he's a guy who can easily step in and get a title. Also, you talk about who we need to see more of Fundora. We need to see more of Murtaza Aliyev. Like, again, only in this scumbag of a sport can you be so good that nobody fights you.
But champ, he's got a belt now, though. You can't avoid him.
You can't avoid him, but so far I haven't seen him since Tszyu. No, I haven't seen him mention since Tszyu, anything else. So again,
he was avoided long before that, but so he kept getting step aside money. He was this dangerous guy that no one really knew about, but now he's got a title. Yeah. Now he has a negotiation chip that he can make these fights.
When did he fight Tszyu though? Let's go back to October. We still haven't seen this guy.
A few months ago,
nor is there anything scheduled. Right? I mean, what am I talking about here?
No.
Well, nobody's going to want to fight him, but he's got a belt. So if you're trying to unify, you have to fight him now. You have to get to him.
That's the problem. Are they trying to unify or no? I don't know.
Why not?
154. There's nobody who really sticks out as like, the guy, and there's some super.
It's just a ton of talent spread out.
You can like
4 or 5
Virgil's,
guys.
For me, it's Ortiz. I think Virgil's the guy.
He's nasty. Virgil's nasty, but dude, Murtaza Aliyev. I mean, what I've seen, that guy's scary, dude. Yeah. That's a scary guy. Then you've got the rest of the 154-pound division that hangs around in there, and Thurman and Tszyu are gonna probably fight one another once Tszyu disposes of Spence. We'll see how the return of Tszyu looks and whatnot. There's
Spencer.
Oh,
not Spence.
Oh, yeah, Spencer. Yeah, sorry.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah,
sorry, guys.
I was like, man, dispose of Errol Spence is not easy.
Yeah.
Right.
They should fight each other, right? Spence and Spencer.
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be an interesting billing card.
But if you're playing matchmaker here, who do you want to see Fundora take on at this point? If you look at unification,
let's play logical matchmaker, right? Like that includes the politics, which is like
the money side.
Where we don't just play fantasy sports, like imagining things that probably aren't going to happen. So he's a PBC fighter. Who are the PBC options at 154? You got the winner of Tszyu and Thurman. I almost called him Zoom, imagine. Tszyu and Thurman. That's an option, right? At 54, that could probably easily be made. Who else is at 54? Maybe Lubin. Is Lubin at 54 or is he going to be at 60?
I think Lubin's at 60 now.
T's at 60 now. Okay. Yeah. So Lubin's at 60.
Fights for us in May. Yes.
And Fundora's already beaten Lubin, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Tszyu. I think you're right. You're hitting it right on the head. The Tszyu Thurman fight makes way too much sense. If Thurman wins, you've got a name and a comeback, and that's an easy fight to make. And if Tszyu wins, all right, you had a controversial first one as a rematch. I think it's a good money fight. I think people will be very interested in that because of the controversial nature of how the last fight went. That's probably first and foremost. But apparently, the IBF has put in Xander Zayas as the next fight. So that name is getting interjected into the mix.
Xander's also got to eventually step in as well. Obviously, you got guys like Madrimov in the weight class. You got Bohachuk.
That's how good this
class is.
weight
But again, these guys are all different political aisles, so it depends. But, you got a weight class that has Bohachuk, Madrimov, Zayas. Where do they stand? Obviously, Murtaza Aliyev has the title. Where does he stand?
Zayas is with Top Rank. That fight's not out of the realm of possibility. The fight could happen, especially if the IBF is demanding it. Because we know the IBF will strip guys. So Fundora does not want to lose one of these titles.
Yeah.
Well, the difficulty too is 160, traditionally middleweight, a very respected weight class, very respected champion. It's a wasteland right now. Yeah. So the problem is we have all this talent at 54. All those guys know, and Virgil Ortiz, for example, has talked about it. Hey, I can go up to 160 and be the man at middleweight and not have to fight 3 or 4 talented guys in a row to unify a title. So my next question for you guys is, at what point does a talented weight class without a superstar make you go, all right, well, I can serve in heaven or rule in hell, right? Or I can go to 60 and beat, it's one of those things where I love Arislandi Lara. He's my age. We could have gone to high school together, and be the man. So what's your thought on that? Like, if I'm Fundora, I'm 6'6". Hey, I can go to middleweight and be the guy. Is it good or bad to be in that talented pool?
Carlos Adames
he's
no
joke
against Shiraz. And Shiraz is another really tall guy with good punching power. Adames, I thought he won that fight hands down, and I thought he looked really, really good. I've always said he's a problem. So there's no guarantee, even though it's a quote unquote a weaker weight class compared to 54.
Yeah.
You're still talking to world class guys and that are bigger.
But somebody's got to teach Adames to cut off the ring. If he cuts off the ring, he knocks Shiraz out that fight. That was unbelievable. I've never seen a guy just follow a guy around for 12 rounds like that in my life. That was actually poor on both their parts.
But also, what about Janibek? He's a nightmare style. He's a difficult guy to deal with.
I'm not sold on Janibek, man.
When he locks in, dude, when he locks in, he's a problem.
He has 2 belts.
Yeah.
When he locks in, he's a problem.
That's a Baron, though. I don't know. It's funny. Virgil's actually good enough where I wouldn't put it past him that he could win titles at 54 and even unify at 54, despite how good the weight class is. That's how good Virgil is. But at the same time, it's so good that he could also get beat. You gotta put that out there. At 60, I could see Virgil, maybe beating all those guys. I could see
Virgil's mentality. And I've talked to Robert about this. About him. He wants everybody. He wants to take the 54.
But I want to see, especially the way Virgil handled Madrimov. Now it also elevates the level of Bohachuk, and Bohachuk continues to look devastating. I gotta see more of Bohachuk. Bohachuk better not be the guy that winds up being avoided and just put to the side. Because Bohachuk is nasty as well.
We had a fighter on our card. A few cards ago, and he said he sparred both Madrimov and Bohachuk, and he said, no, Bohachuk's the guy.
Yeah, and now we know originally.
That says a lot when you're both those guys. Yeah.
Before the Virgil and Madrimov fight.
He also sparred with Fundora as well.
Yeah.
Before the Madrimov fight with Virgil, we also were thinking Madrimov might be a little more complete than Bohachuk, but now it's starting to come out. I mean, Bohachuk is a problem as well, and we need to see more of that guy too.
So Fundora, physically talented, 6'6". We saw the punching power at short range. Does he need what? Better boxing on the outside, a little more volume? He does throw a decent amount of punches. Not a Paul Williams volume kind of puncher, but a guy who throws a lot of punches. What does he need to do to correct, having seen a fight where once again, against Booker, he said, I don't think he was fighting the most talented guy in the division. But what does he need to improve to maybe challenge or beat the Ortizes of the world, to be the guy at 154? What's your thought, Chris?
I honestly don't think he beats those guys. I don't think he's the strongest champion in the weight class. I don't think he's the guy who's going to take over. I think a lot of the things that he needs to correct would change his style to a point that would make him less effective. He what's his name in Towering Inferno?
Yeah,
because he fights like the building's burning down. Every fight is like it's in a burning building, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to turn up the heat with you. He'll get hit. We'll trade. But listen, I got a better gas tank. I got heavier hands. And I'm tougher than you. I'm gonna win. If he goes in and starts boxing and usually fighting the outside, like you said, champ, his jab is pretty rudimentary. It's not, doesn't change it up a whole lot. His feet aren't that quick, but that's not a knock on him. When you're that tall, your feet just move different. Your body moves differently. So I don't know I don't know how much he can really change his style. And he's just in such a deep weight class. But listen, it'll be fun the whole way through. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. What people don't appreciate.
He's here for a good time, not a long time.
What people don't appreciate, by the way, in combat sports or athletics, period, is, man, that guy's 6'8". He should beat everybody. 6'8" guys aren't athletic. It's like all their body parts are kind of made from different stuff, and they're not that athletic. That's when you see someone on a basketball court who's 7'2" and can glide. It can do all that. You're like, that is really rare. It's the same thing in boxing. 6'6" sounds great until you have to put it together with the footwork and the jab and getting your hands back. That's what makes him physically a threat. He's got some things to clean up. Will he be the man at 154 pounds? That is the question. As he makes his next fight, we'll talk about it right here on Boxing Scene Today. Join us and find out why millions are watching.